All right, let's dive into one of the most infamous and, frankly, terrifying chapters in American history, the story of the Donner Party. This is a journey that starts with this incredible dream of a new life, but it spirals into a desperate, unimaginable struggle for survival.
You know, to really get a sense of what these people went through, you have to hear it from someone who was actually there. This diary entry from Patrick Breen, wow, it just hits you. He's saying the misery was so intense, words couldn't even capture it. And that really sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold.
So where does a story like this even begin? Well, it doesn't start with tragedy, it starts with hope. It's the 1840s, and this idea of manifest destiny is in the air. People are looking west, and California? Well, California was seen as the promised land.
And at the center of it all, we have the Donner Reed Party. We're talking about a big group, 87 people, men, women, and a lot of kids, all led by George Donner and James Reed. They packed up everything they owned and set off from Illinois in the spring of 1846, just full of optimism about the rich, fertile land waiting for them out west.
You know, in almost every story of disaster, there's a turning point. A single, critical decision that changes absolutely everything. For the Donner Party, that moment came when they decided to take a shortcut.
And that shortcut? It was called the Hastings Cutoff. A guy named Lansford Hastings was promoting it like crazy, claiming it would shave weeks off the journey. The only problem, and it was a huge one, was that it was basically untested. No one had really taken a wagon train through there before. It was a complete unknown.
And this chart just lays it all out, right? I mean, look at the gamble they took. The standard trail was longer, sure, but people knew it. They knew where to find water. They knew what to expect. The Hastings Cutoff promised to be shorter, but they'd be heading into brutal, uncharted land with almost no reliable water. They traded a sure thing for a very, very dangerous promise.
And that gamble? It blew up in their faces. I mean, catastrophically. The shortcut ended up costing them everything. They lost 18 precious days just hacking their own road through the mountains. Then they lost another 5 days, not to mention a ton of their cattle, struggling across the desert. By the time they finally got back to the main trail, they were a whole month behind. And with winter coming, that was bad, really bad.
Being a month behind schedule wasn't just an inconvenience. In the Sierra Nevada mountains, it was a potential death sentence. Their race against the seasons was over, and they had lost.
The timing is just, it's absolutely heartbreaking. It was Halloween 1846. A freakishly early and massive snowstorm just slammed the mountains. And the worst part, the most brutal irony of it all, is that they were only one single day away from the summit, 1 day from safety. But the snow just buried the pass. They were completely and utterly trapped.
So at this point, their group is down to 81 people. Let that sink in for a second. 81 souls, stranded at what we now call Donner Lake, facing down a brutal mountain winter with supplies running dangerously low and only flimsy shelters to protect them.
And this quote from a survivor just puts you right there in that moment of awful realization. Any hope of getting over the mountains was gone. It was just gone. The only thing left to do was to dig in, try to build some kind of shelter, and prepare for the absolute worst. Their dream of California was replaced by a nightmare of survival.
As the weeks turned into months, starvation and sickness started taking their toll. People began to die. Out of this desperation came one of the most famous and harrowing rescue attempts in American history. They called it the Forlorn Hope. Okay, so here's the plan. A small group of the strongest survivors made these makeshift snowshoes and set out on foot, trying to cross over 100 miles of snow-covered mountains to get help. Their journey was a complete nightmare. We're talking blizzards, frostbite, and absolute starvation. And eventually, they were forced to make the most unthinkable choice a person can make just to stay alive. After 33 agonizing days, only 7 of the original 17 stumbled into a settlement and finally raised the alarm.
So, the Forlorn Hope. They did it. They actually made it and sent help. Rescue parties were finally on their way. But back at the lake, for so many of the trapped pioneers, it was already far too late.
When all was said and done, the numbers were just staggering. Of the 87 people who started this journey full of dreams, only 48 made it out alive. 39 people, men, women, and children, died in the snow. It's just a devastating loss.
So what do we take away from all this? The Donner Party story became this legendary cautionary tale, right?
a warning about taking untested shortcuts and being overconfident. But it's also this unbelievable testament to what humans can endure. Their tragedy actually led to better maps and guidebooks, making the journey safer for everyone who came after. It's just this haunting, unforgettable piece of American history.
And that kind of leaves us with this one big question to think about. This story is more than just a historical event. It really forces us to look at that razor-thin line between ambition and pure recklessness. And it makes you ask yourself, what choices would you make when you're faced with the impossible?